starting here at my closest, right? We have Adam Patton and Ruth Knight, Carmelita Law, and Tara Wheat, and John Flynn. All right, I'm doing pretty good. All right, will you please go ahead and address the attendees, please?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Good evening. I'd like to start by thanking the NAACP for inviting all members here. The judicial elections are very difficult because there's very limited information that non-attorneys have on each of these attorneys up here at the stand. So it's very important to get out in the community and for the community to be able to see us and know what we stand for, and know who we stand for, and know where we stand on things. With that in mind, I want to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Adam Patton, and I'm running for Polk County Judge. I'm a small business owner. I've run my own practice for 7 years. I understand what it means to have overhead. I understand what it means to have health insurance costs. I understand what it means to pay for their employees. So I understand what it means to be a small business owner in this community. I'm also a certified professional mediator by the Florida Supreme Court in both family law, civil law, and in county court. What that means is that I've been trained and I practice mediation. I've done over 100 mediations in this last year alone. And with that training, I learned and I know how to set aside my biases that we all have. And I'm able to listen to each side to ensure that everyone has equality in front of the law. Beyond that, I'm also founded or co-founded Polk County's first collaborative law group. And in that collaborative law group is where attorneys get together with certified professionals to help people help themselves in the future. I'm a former prosecutor, and I've done criminal defense. I've done county civil work in small claims, in bankruptcy, in federal court. I've also done, just to put it shortly, I've done everything a county court judge would have to do on both sides for plaintiffs and for defendants or respondents in the county court system. Anything a county court judge would have to be responsible for doing, I've done. Thank you.
Ms. Knight?
Good evening. I also want to thank the NAACP, the chapter of Haines City, for this opportunity to come here and meet the voters and talk about who we are and why we are seeking for your vote. My name is Ruth Knight. I have been an attorney since 2000. I graduated from the University of Florida in 1999. I obtained my bachelor's degree from the University of Puerto Rico back in 1993. I have been engaged in the practice of law for 22 years. In that capacity, the first 2 years coming out of law school, I worked for Florida Rural Legal Services, and we handled cases that included small claims, landlord-tenant, unemployment compensation, public benefit law. 2 years later, I joined the Public Defender's Office, and since then, I have been engaged in active courtroom practice, handling trials. And in misdemeanor court, I handle mental health cases, DUI, veterans court. So I have the necessary experience to be elected county judge and serve my community in that capacity. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being present here and interested in who you're going to vote for. My name is Carmelita Law. I'm running for County Court Judge Group 8. I have almost a decade's worth of experience in the civil and criminal field. I've been a public servant for almost 7 years. in the trenches of the courtroom doing jury trials, motions, evidentiary hearings, and also I've done civil trials as well. I've done arbitration hearings. I have taken training in mediation, family mediation. I graduated from FAMU College of Law. I'm not going to tell you the year I did, because then you might figure out my age. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I also, while I worked full-time as a public servant, raising 2 kids, I did my master's in public administration, so I have those soft skills as well, those leadership skills, the skills to implement policies and programs, and sometimes that this particular position requires of judges in the specialty courts, like the behavioral health courts and the mental health courts. And I have that experience litigating those courts as well. And I'm just really grateful and humbled to be here, and I look forward to talking to you some more. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Tara Wheat, and I am running for Polk County Judge in Group 8. Thank you all for being here tonight and being part of this process. A little bit about me: I grew up in Lake Wales. I'm a 4th generation Polk County native, and I attended school at Lake Wales High School. I went to college at Florida Southern in Lakeland, and then I began teaching. I taught at my alma mater, Lake Wales, for 3 years, teaching English. When my daughter was born, I took 2 years off, and in that time, I decided to go to law school. I had already made some plans to go to law school when I was in undergraduate, but then I had put those aside. And so I'd already taken the LSAT, I'd already applied to the Law School Admission Council, I'd already had my letters of recommendation. So I was able to just go ahead and apply, and I was accepted to Stetson University College of Law. I began in that part-time program. And then I began teaching again. So I was teaching during the day and I was going to law school at night. I taught at Bartow High School for a year, and then I moved over to the Academy of Legal Studies at George Jenkins High School, where I taught English and law for 6 years. After I graduated from Stetson, I took over as the Academy's director, and I taught solely legal classes for about 3 years, teaching business law, civil litigation, legal office technology skills, as well as criminal and constitutional law. Some of those classes were through Polk State as well. In 2016, I left the field of education and went to the Polk County Public Defender's Office, where I have been for the last 6 years, representing juveniles in delinquency court currently. I'm running for Polk County Judge because I believe this is the next best way that I can serve my community in a meaningful way, and that I continue my public service that I have been a part of for this community for almost 20 years. Thank you.
I'm John Flynn. I'm here today to ask for your vote. I'm running for County Court Judge, Group 8, as we all are. I moved down here in 2002. I moved down to work for Jerry Hill at the time he was the head prosecutor. After working for him for 3 years, I decided it was time to go out and hang my own shingle. So I started my own practice. 16 years later, it's still running and it's been successful. During that time, I volunteered for the Florida Bar Grievance Committee. I helped settle grievances between, or I helped root out some of the attorneys that were not acting properly, not misusing trust accounts, things of that nature. I also volunteered and worked for the UPL committee, which is unauthorized practice of law. I did that for 6 years out of my office. That was clamping down on people that were taking advantage of the most vulnerable amongst us, the elderly and the poor, people that couldn't afford to go see an attorney, so they went and they saw a sign that said solicitor for $50, $500, or help you do your divorce. Well, they go to those people and they get hurt. We put an end to that, but we put as much of an end as we could, obviously. I volunteered and worked with the teen courts. I was very happy to act as a judge for that program because I felt it was a good way to give our youth a chance to avoid a criminal sentence and pay for what the crime they had committed without it following them for the rest of their life. I've worked in, as Adam said, pretty much every capacity, over the past 20 years than I possibly could to get ready to move to the next level, to ask for your vote for judge. And that's why I'm here today. So thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate that.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Flynn. Keep it, because it's gonna come right back to you.
Sure.
Let's start with my question. What do you believe to be the root causes for the high numbers of juvenile offenders? What changes can the court system make to reduce these numbers?
Now, the one thing that, I won't do is legislate from the bench. I can't change what is going to happen with different programs. But programs like teen courts, programs like diversion are good ways to start off, but the real solution, and every solution, starts at our kitchen table. First, our family has to pick up the ball. Our family builds a sense of community, a sense of faith, a sense of church, Our family gives us the values that we learned, and to go forward from there, it becomes a lot easier not to get in trouble if you have a good one. Now, if you don't have one that is teaching you the right way to be, there are programs that are available that our youth have to get involved in, whether it's Boys and Girls Club of America, whether it's Big Brother, Big Sister program. Every program, including the one that Lakeland has, and I'm sorry, Lakeland, and I forget the name of it, their police have the junior explorers, where they help these kids out. It gives them something to do. At the end of the day, you're not getting in trouble if you're involved in the sport, if you're involved in the community, if you're involved in the church. You get in trouble when you're on your own and you don't have anything else to do. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Weed, same question. Would you like for me to repeat it?
No, thank you. So I do work in the juvenile division in the Polk County Public Defender's Office, so I do have a lot of experience with juveniles that are getting into trouble in delinquency court. And I can tell you two of the biggest issues that I see is that most of them are not in school, and most of them have mental health issues. So first of all, with not being in school, when we have kids come in, routinely, they are missing 50 days of school, 60 days of school, because we get those records from the Polk County School Board when they're in court, and they are just not in school for whatever reason. And we do have some, I believe they're called intervention specialists at the schools. And it's their job to look into the situations where kids are not in school, or they're not flourishing, they're not being successful, and working on that. And we may need more of them. I've met a couple and talked to them, and they're doing a really great job. I don't know how many there are in the schools, but we need more, because there's a ton of kids that are just not going to school regularly. And when they are in school, and when they are involved in pro-social activities, they're not getting into trouble. Now, the other issue is mental health. I'll just ballpark a figure, probably 75 to 80% of the kids that are getting in trouble have mental health issues. Some of them significant mental health issues. And getting in to see a mental health professional, you're not gonna do it anytime soon. It is months to get in to see a mental health professional, especially if you need medication. But what we have seen with these kids is that if they're in counseling, if they're taking medication as prescribed, if they're prescribed medication, they stop getting into trouble, and they stop doing these things that are impetuous or are due to the mental health, significant breakdowns that they're having. Those things end once they see a mental health professional. Thank you.
Yes. What do you believe to be the root causes for the numbers of juvenile offenders, and what changes can the court system make to reduce these numbers?
I believe that young people need a mentor in their life. Someone that they can turn to. And And most of these juvenile offenders, they don't have that in their life. They turn to the gangs, they turn to the drugs. The gangs are their family, so let's bring them back to our own families. We also have to reach out to their families and see what the issues are surrounding that familial environment, because their behavior tends to stem from that environment. We need prevention, intervention, and treatment. Get corporations to come together and pay for youth camps. Keep them busy. Kids need to be kept busy. If they're not kept busy, they're going to end up getting in trouble. We all know that for parents. And so those are very important for us to intervene in their lives, but also in their families' lives. Get organizations together. Get them the treatment that they need. Get them the mentorship that they need. Reach out to the YMCA camps, YMCA organizations. What can they provide to these children to keep them involved in organizations? Get them in, I don't know, Taekwondo or those kind of, activities, physical activities. Keep them busy so that they're not spending their time wondering what they should do next, or what crime they should commit. And I believe that that's one of the major reasons why we have such a high rate of youth offenders, is because they lack that love and that familial environment. They turn to the wrong crowd, the wrong people, and they end up committing crimes. And I think if we can start introducing those programs and just get them involved so that they become productive citizens as adults, I think that would reduce the crimes. Thank you.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes. One thing that I have seen when I was working in the juvenile division, one of the saddest experiences for me was to see a kid next to me with tears running down their faces, and a parent on the other side saying, I do not want this kid back in my house, because at some point the parents gave up on the children. It seems to me that the kids may have a lot of time in their hands that they do not know what to do, how to use it properly. And perhaps we as adults provide for them means to use their time, maybe not in the most wise way. So one thing that I think needs to be done is for the parents or enablers to understand what they're doing and be strong when they have to tell the kid, no, you can't have that. To be strong enough to tell them no. And if the child gets in trouble, help them not to end up with criminal records that's going to follow them for the rest of their lives, and they're gonna be living a life in and out of the criminal system. Perhaps creating diversion programs where they can resolve the cases without having to end up with being adjudicated delinquent, and giving them a chance when they grow up and be adults not to have that baggage with them.
I would start that the root cause of the high number of juvenile offenders is failure in the home. No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. Now, as a judge, I can't go into people's homes and fix their problems. I can tell you that as a family law lawyer, I have been inside people's homes. I have seen their problems. I have seen the things that cause these issues. And I can tell you that when the family is more selfish, when the parents are more selfish than the children are, and all they care about is their own outcome, and they leave the children behind, that's when the children get in trouble. The second thing I'd talk about is education. We had the school board up here earlier, and the better the education, the less the juvenile delinquency. If we can improve the education of our community, it will decrease the criminal rates just by normal numbers. Instead of people being interested in going out and robbing a bank, they're gonna be interested in going and interning at a law office. I've had 2 different high school students come and intern in my law office because that's what they were interested in. They came after school, they worked for 2 hours, and they learned what I was doing. These are the types of things we need to have here. The last thing I would say is children need to be taught from a very young age the importance of choice and accountability. When they consistently are not held accountable for whatever it might be, whether it be pushing their sister or telling a lie to their dad, they need to be held accountable with proper punishment and proper education so that they are learning from a very young age the importance of choice and accountability. And that can also go back to the schools. If they're making the choice to not go to school, then they need to be held accountable at the end of the school year. If they're making the choices to hang out with the wrong crowd, they need to be held accountable. The last thing I would say is the importance of coaches in schools. I personally know a young woman who was living with an aunt because her mom and dad were both in prison. She went with 3 siblings. This young woman joined the soccer club as a freshman, and she stayed with that team and with that family. Her 2 siblings both spent time in and out of prison, in and out of juvenile custody, and ended up dead. The 3rd girl, the one who played soccer and had that team and had that family, is in college now. Thank you.
Okay, with you, Mr. Patton. Mr. Patton, do you believe the composition of juries adequately and fairly reflects society at large? Why or why not? If not, what can we do to change this? There's a lot going on here, okay? What are the pros and cons of using driver's license registration as a source of jurors? I'm gonna go over that one more time, because that's a lot. That's a mouthful. Do you believe the composition of juries adequately and fairly reflects society at large? Why or why not? If not, what can we do to change this? What are the pros and cons of using driver's license registration as a source of jurors?
Okay, so I would say that the composition of juries that actually get into the jury box do not represent the population at large. And that is largely because so many people don't want to be on jury duty. I mean, you never see someone jump up and say, woohoo, I got jury duty. If you want to change that mentality and get proper representation, that's what you're going to need to get. I get called by friends asked at church all the time, what do I do to get out of jury duty? I can't spend a whole week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks sitting on a jury. My business will fail if I'm gone that long. Or my husband is sick and I can't leave him alone that long. Or I've got kids at home and I can't leave him alone that long. So that's the first thing we're looking at there is just the general population needs to understand and appreciate what they're really doing as jurors. The second thing is the composition is with regards to the pros and cons of using the driver's license registrations for juries. I mean, I don't know what other process to use. I do believe that as far as general racial equities and male-female representations inside the courtrooms, from my experience picking juries, there are oftentimes not enough people in specific pools to make sure that those things are fairly balanced. There have been times when I've picked juries that I've had every single one of them a white-female. I've had other times where I've had a good mix of male, female, black, white, Hispanic, all sorts of different things. And there's no real way to guarantee that's going to be coming unless the clerk of courts is doing something differently to diversify those pools that are going up to the courtroom. At the end of the day, a judge is not going to be the one that can designate that. If changes need to be made, they need to be made to the legislature. Law needs to be passed on how juries are selected and implemented that way, and the judges will follow those laws. Thank you.
I do agree that the jury pool that we end up with in trial is not representative of the community or the person that's in need of that service. I have had cases where, I remember this particular one, this female with charge of child abuse, child neglect, and she ended up with a jury panel of just males, all males. Perhaps some jurors learn what answers to give to get out of serving, but we could not find, based on the answer that we were receiving, a jury that was a peer of my client. And the ones that gave the best answers, we picked them, and at the end, we had this definitely not a representative of what my client situation was. I agree. I do not know what other method to use to bring members or to the jury pool. But I believe if one option is given to the judges to be more lenient when we are requiring extra time to question the jurors, and if we disagree with them, not trying to rush through the process, this is more than the technicalities. Actually, it's meaningful for the person that is in need of that service. So being flexible would, I think, ensure a better result.
I certainly will. Do you believe the composition of jurors adequately and fairly reflects the society at large, right or not? If not, what can we do to change this? And what are the pros and cons of using driver's license registration as a source of jurors?
So definitely the composition of juries do not adequately reflect the society at large. And choosing the jurors has a lot to do with the court system and the individuals involved in choosing those jurors. And I think it can start there where they can, when they're sending jurors to the courtroom, they can actually try to ensure that there's a diverse panel. I think that's one solution. Judges can also, I'm not sure if judges can do this, but judges do know the panels that get sent to their courtrooms. And perhaps the court system can try to work together to produce a diverse panel for each case, so that the citizens of Polk County can have a fair judicial system where the jurors represent a diverse population like themselves. In terms of the driver's license, I'm not sure how that would work. I would imagine that when people try to renew their license or get a license, they can have some sort of, survey in terms of what their nationality is, what their race is, what their gender is, and maybe the government bodies can coordinate that when they choose the jurors, when they send out the mails to choose the jurors to represent whatever case. Again, it takes coordination of different organizations and different people to bring this together to ensure that we have more of a diverse jury selection. Thank you.
Thank you. So I agree with what's been said already. No, the jury panels do not seem to be adequately reflecting society at large in Polk County. I've talked to numerous people as I've been out on the campaign trail who have told me they've served on a jury numerous times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. They get called every other year. They're the foreman. They've been on a murder trial. They've been on a civil case. They've been on a DUI. And then I've talked to people who have never, ever been called for jury duty, ever, and they have a driver's license. I myself was called for jury duty twice before I turned 21, and then 1 time maybe 3 years ago. That's it. And so, and I never even made it out of the jury room downstairs and on the second floor because they had too many and we weren't needed. So, I mean, I can tell right there from however they're getting them, from the driver's licenses, that it's not adequately representing Polk County, because why are people being called over and over and over and over again year after year when other people are never, ever being called for jury duty? And then when you get into the jury panel and you get up there into the courtroom, just like these other folks have said, people don't want to do it. So the people who need to work, or the people who have someone they have to take care of, they're going to find a way to get out of it because they just can't spend their time on a jury. And so you do end up with a skewed jury pool of typically older people, oftentimes retirees, who have the time and have the inclination and want to do it, and so they don't say anything, you know, to get them kicked off because they're happy to be there and they have the time to do it. So there probably needs to be a better way to do it, but I don't know that I know the answer of how to change that process.
Flynn?
Thank you. I forget what year it was, I think 10 years ago or so. It seems like they changed it from, I don't remember, if it was voter registration to driver's licenses. And at that time, we finally got some people that were under the age of 21 that showed up for jury duty. We started to get a slightly younger panel. But the God's honest truth is, does the panel look like people it's necessarily supposed to be representative of? And the answer is no, absolutely not. You know, I've sat down at the trial before and I've looked around the jury room. I'd say 80 to 90% of them were white, male, between the ages of 45 and 70. And I looked at my client, who was a younger black male, and he looked at me and said, "You call that, you know, representative of me?" I said, "There's not a lot I can do about that. I'm sorry. The fact of the matter is, I can strike people, but I only get so many strikes before, you know, they look past that. They will, at some point, you run out of luck. You wind up with the exact panel you don't want. If you try to strike everybody, you have to take your time, you gotta think about it. Also, when we put it under driver's licenses, I would think that would also create a new disparity, and that would be disparity in wealth, because a lot of times people that don't have cars don't bother to go get a driver's license. A lot of times people that can't drive, you know, they have no reason to drive because they don't have the ability to buy a vehicle. So you eliminate that section of society. Now, I have been in enough juries, and I've picked enough juries to know what Tara's talking about when she says she heard from the community that there are, you know, I've done this 4 times, I've done this 3 times. Well, that's because those people want to be there. When they go into jury duty, they want to be a jury duty. They want to see what happens. Mostly retirees, which is why we have an older crowd for that. I don't know what you can do about it, but it's up to the legislature, not the judge. Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Flynn, thank you so very much. All of you, I realize that we have a group 8 of judges that believes in prevention, intervention, and empathize with the community. And thank you so very much. So in your closing remarks, 2 minutes only, will you please address the audience?
Once again, I am John Flynn. I am asking for your vote. I have been doing this for 20 years. I have the experience, I've spent the time, and I've taken the steps necessary to get me to where I am today. Whether it was volunteering through the Florida Bar, grievance committee, whether it was volunteering to do arbitration or mediation for the Florida Bar, whether it was volunteering on team courts, or any number of other, I would say, service-oriented duties that I undertook while I was in private practice after leaving the state attorney's office. I was looking at becoming a tax attorney originally. Then I went to Jefferson Parish, New Orleans, and I tried a case. And I said, wait, I like this. This is fun. And I'm good at it. I felt at home in the courtroom making arguments. And I look forward to being at home on the bench. If you guys, and I would ask everybody here, should make sure you vote, regardless of who you vote for. But I'm asking for your support. And I also appreciate the interest that people in this room have had with the school board, because as a children, that's how you prevent juveniles from getting in trouble. You give them the right background and the right setting. Thank you.
Thank you. Socrates said 4 things belong to a judge: to hear courteously, to answer wisely, to consider soberly, and to decide impartially. I believe I can be that type of judge for Polk County, the one that Socrates was talking about. I am a 4th generation Polk County native. I do care very deeply about this community and its citizens. I've dedicated my entire adult life to public service, first as an educator, now as an attorney. And as a judge, I want to continue serving this community, the community where I'm raising my own children, to in a more significant way, I hope, by treating all citizens equally under the law. I have not only the necessary experience, but also the temperament and the knowledge of the law to maintain an impartial and balanced courtroom. I do hope that you'll vote for me on August 23rd. If you'd like to check out my website at tarawheatforjudge.com, you'll find out more information about me, and I hope that once you do that, that you'll see that I'm the right balance for the Polk County Court. Thank you.
Martin Luther King Jr. once quoted, "We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." And that's what I'm all about. I want to help the community, provide a service to the community, to the citizens of Polk County, because I'd like to be a torchbearer of justice. Each and every person, when I become a judge, each and every person that walks into that courtroom will be treated fairly, because they're entitled to be treated fairly. They'll be treated with integrity, because they're entitled to be treated with integrity. And they're entitled to have a judge that listens intently to their case, that understands the issues of their case, and that will rule according to the law, and will see their case not in their own eyes, but in the eyes of others, to remove biases. And I will be that judge. Please vote for me. Thank you.
I want to thank you for still being here, listening to us. I know it's late, but I do want your vote. I want the vote of your neighbor. I want the vote of your family members. So spread the word. Vote Ruth Knight for judge. I have the necessary experience. I have been practicing law for almost 22 years, over 22 years in the legal system. I have been in the courtroom actively engaged in litigation, dealing with different number of personalities, and I have the judicial temperament to perform my duties as a judge, where people would come into the courtroom and feel that they would be treated fairly, impartially, that they are listened to, and they would not leave with that sense of this judge was not fair. One thing that I know concerns the community And I know this because my clients ask me, is this judge fair? And I know that is a concern of the community, so I want to continue serving my community by ensuring that the judicial system, I preserve the integrity of the judicial system and that they are treated fairly and knowing that they're heard, even if the outcome is not, a side has to win, but I want them to know that the result was equitable and fair.
First of all, I'd like to again thank the Haines City NAACP for putting on this forum and making this opportunity available out here on the Ridge. I am trained in many different things. People need to remember that county court judge is not just a criminal court judge. County court judges see small businesses daily. County court judges see people that are being evicted from their homes. County court judges see people that are involved in auto accidents and in property damage disputes. Most of the people, the law-abiding citizens of Polk County that have to see a judge, will see a county court judge in civil courtroom. In fact, half of our county court judges are civil judges. I have civil experience, and a lot of it. It's not just 1 or 2 times in a courtroom for civil cases. I also have a lot of criminal experience. If you look at the Florida Bar's self-reporting site, Florida Bar has self-reporting for each and every judicial candidate. You can see what each judge has done and what their qualifications are. I believe if you look those things up and you look at those things, I have the experience in the 11 years that I've been practicing law that outnumbers many other people. In addition to that trial experience, the litigation experience, I am trained and certified by the Florida Supreme Court 3 times over to take off my advocating hat that lawyers all talk about, being a zealous advocate for your client. A judge is not to be an advocate, but I have that experience in training with hundreds of hours of training, and to take that hat off, to be a judge, to be a neutral. You don't have to wonder if I'm able to set aside my biases. I've been trained and certified to do it. I do it all the time. Again, my name's Adam Patton. I'm running for Polk County Judge in Group 8, one of the 5 candidates here. I'd ask for you to do your research. Review each candidate with as much information as you can, and choose the most qualified candidate to represent you and to represent your community. Thanks.
All right, thank you so very much. The citizens of Polk County and the NAACP would like to thank you for coming out, sharing your platform, your information, valuable information to assist us in making an informed choice when we vote. All right, at this point in time, will you please give them a